Hi, this is Mike Gormley. It's the Mike Gormley Show. Our guest today is Laurence Juber, who's uh, the accolades are amazing, but the one that stands out is that being a member of Wings with Paul and Linda McCartney, and uh, we'll we'll talk about them just a little bit. Was that whole thing overwhelming? You've already discussed it. It sounds like it moved in kind of, you were able to move in slowly and so on, but still, there you were on this massive stage. Is that when was that the tour where they had the laser go out over the crowd?
No, we weren't using lasers. We actually, the whole, I think that last era of Wings really, and the album was called Back to the Egg for the purpose really of kind of coming back to a more, uh, a simpler approach without all the crazy,
Mhm.
without all the crazy lighting and everything else, and really putting the focus on the music. Um, it was, I mean, it was certainly an experience, and it was not exactly overwhelming because, as a professional musician, one has kind of the focus of the work. Um, it was life changing for me, especially because, like a month before I joined Wings, my father had passed away. So
Uh,
I was really going through this kind of whole um, kind of shift in my personal um, experience. Um, but it was just all around. It was a great experience and a great learning experience, and it gave me the tools not only to be able to be a composer and a songwriter, but also an engineer, a record producer, and all the all the accoutrements of having been in a band like that and burnishing the resume in a productive way.
was the Japan bust for Mr. McCartney, was that was that the end? Was that just kind of stopped the whole thing or no?
No, it really didn't because the band still existed for another year afterwards.
Hmm.
Um, it was certainly, I mean, it was, yeah. Um, I was standing next to him, so it wasn't an easy experience. But we kept going, and in fact, I mean, in the summer of 1980, which the bust happened in January of that year. In the summer of 1980, we had a number one record with the live version of Coming Up, which was a
Hmm.
big hit. Uh, and right around that time, Paul took me with him and Linda to um, the south of France to record an album with Ringo. So there was still, even though it might that at that point it wasn't necessarily directly Wings, it was still within that Beatles adjacent orbit.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and we kept going through to January of 81. Although Wings didn't officially fold until uh, April of 81
Why then did it fold?
because they didn't really need a band anymore. I
Uh,
mean, Paul, they didn't tour again through most of the 80s, because John Lennon had been killed. They had the kids situated in school. They'd moved out of London. Family was coming first. And um, there was no reason to keep a band around. And it was kind of that was a change. Paul was turning 40. George Martin got involved in producing the next few albums with the Tug of War Pipes of Peace album. And it was just a different era. It was really kind of, Wings was very much of the 70s, and and the 80s were a different era.
Different story entirely.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, I'd seen the writing on the wall in January of 1980. I'd already made plans to move to New York, and I'd only been in New York a few months when I met Hope, who became my wife. And in fact, I met her on April 28th, and Wings officially folded April 27th. So it was really like, just one day to the next, life changed.
So you have an anniversary coming up.
Our meet-versary, yeah.
Yeah, right, I made it
Yeah. We're actually going to be in London for that. I have a concert in London. But, it's funny, you mentioned, kind of my being known for having been in Wings. At this point, I'm kind of known for being Ilse Juber's father, because my daughter Ilse is a very successful songwriter, and we're actually going out to London to see her performing at the Albert Hall.
How fantastic.
Because she has an album out, and she's going to be opening for the band Train. So that's very exciting, you know, hashtag proud parents. But she's done very well over the years, and ILSEY, people can Google her. Her Wikipedia page is pretty informative. And it's after Wings, I got back into studio work here in LA, and did a lot of stuff. I mean, I played on many TV shows, including Home Improvement, Roseanne, Seventh Heaven, which ran 11 years. Movies like Good Will Hunting, Pocahontas. I think I'm on the opening credits of Splash, that whole Woolly Bully sequence. I'm playing guitar on that.
Oh, fantastic.
Number of many TV shows and movies and stuff that I've just lost track of, as well as records, including Dirty Dancing. I played on the soundtrack of Dirty Dancing. But all the while, I was also, using my artistic skills to develop myself as a solo fingerstyle guitar player, which ultimately has led to somewhere north of 30 albums, including my latest one, which came about because I had the opportunity to record at Abbey Road for the first time in 40 years. And Abbey Road Studio 2, which was the Beatles studio, is where I was when I got the phone call to go audition for Wings. And which was also right around this time in April, and that would have been 78. So some years ago, 46 years ago, whatever it is. And I decided that because I've done 4 albums of solo guitar arrangements of Beatle tunes, that I would kind of collect some of my favorites and record those in that studio, which was a very special experience. And I couldn't decide whether to call the album A Day in the Life or A Day in My Life, which is what it ended up being.
I think that's a cool twist.
Thanks.
Yeah, and you teach as well, right? Or is it on your website you've got lessons available? Is that the extent of it, or do you teach?
I don't teach very much. Part of it, I think, is just because I'm a little advanced in my thinking, and anybody that really can kind of glean the what I can really do will probably is better served just kind of looking at me playing on a YouTube video or something. But I do workshops. I'm doing a couple this year. I got Guitar Workshop Plus I'm doing in San Diego, and then there's Acoustic Alaska, which I've done a few times before. And those things are fun because it's the opportunity to kind of just hang out with other creatives and kind of get deeper into the teaching side of things. I like to communicate what I know, and I do sessions like workshop type sessions or masterclass sessions, and I have a PowerPoint which I call Guitar Mania to Beatlemania, which is basically the history of the guitar through its different styles. But ultimately, I like performing. I like writing. I like writing for picture and the stage. Hope and I have written some musicals together. And I like to make records a lot. And I just finished co-producing 2 albums. One by an artist named T-Bear, which is out on, it's called The Way of the World. That's out on Quarto Valley Records. And I co-produced that with Tony Braunagel, who's an old friend of mine, who's a great drummer, and he's the producer that he handles Taj Mahal, plays drums with Taj too. So he's very roots in his approach. So that album is kind of like a roots rock record. And then when I was in London at Abbey Road, I was there also to celebrate Billy J. Kramer's 80th birthday. And we made a record with Billy, which will be coming out in June. And the date on that is going to tie in with the 60th anniversary of his debut on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Amazing.
But the amazing thing there is the very first concert I ever saw when I was 10 years old in July of 1963 was Jerry and the Pacemakers and Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas. So that really kind of completed a circle in that respect.
Good pop music from both of those bands and good singers.
Oh yeah, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm always been a fan of pop music.
You mentioned T-Bear. We're going to have him on this program sometime soon. I'm
Oh,
not sure.
good.
I'm not sure he knows that yet, but
Okay.
but
Yeah.
we're going for it.
And you know, T-Bear, I mean, I've known T-Bear since 1979 when we
Really?
jammed in New York. In fact, when I moved to New York, we were working on a project together and we used to hang out at Catch a Rising Star, the comedy club in New York. And he was next to me when I met Hope. So the album, his album really kind of it took about 45 years to get that record made because life got in the way. But we finally had the opportunity to really knuckle down and make what I think is a very cool record.
Well, I look forward to talking to him. We're going to take another break and listen to a little bit of music and whatever else happens during those breaks. And we'll see you on the other side in a few minutes. This is the Mike Gormley Show, and we are with Laurence Juber, or LJ if you wish. Thank you.